Heisman campaign? Obviously you are.
Well, I did this for one reason. I said this. The Heisman is not like it was 25 years ago. It's your team has to have a lot of success now for the guy to win the Heisman. But the reason I allowed this to go out is I wanted people to understand who Christian Ponder was off the field. We know who he is on the field. But all the things that, all this time that we all, the negative of the negative things that go on in sports, the 2 or 3 or 4, this guy, what he's accomplished, who he is, represents our organization. I wanted people to really understand who Christian Ponder was off the field, and that's why I allowed the campaign for him, because I don't think some people really realize what all the guys accomplished as a person and as a student. And I think it's a great role model for the guys out there.
If you could go back a couple of years and you decided to make him a starter, y'all had an incumbent starter, it was a decision that got a lot of attention. What went into your decision? How much do you think that helped in development that he got that?
Well, I think it was, because the experience is huge, but I think he brought something to us. We had an inexperienced offensive line. We had some young guys, and we knew we wanted an athlete at quarterback, a guy who could run and create plays with his legs, and we weren't dominant at the running game. We had to have a guy that could help us run the football and create, running game to win games, and I thought he brought that to the table. Now, his toughness, his tenacity, his arm talent, the things he had to develop as a passer. He didn't realize how good he was as a passer. He's like the guy where most guys just said, hey, you're not as good as you think you are. He was the guy you had to say, hey, son, you know how good you can be? And he grasped it, and he took off that way because he'd never had a lot of numbers in high school passing. He had the 1 year. But I saw a lot of instinctive intuitiveness to him watching him in practice. Even when he was a backup, you saw arm talent. You saw the ability to make the throws, the runs. And as soon as he learned to trust his instincts, and you start to see him take off right now.
You said that the difference between you and Coach Bowden is that Coach Bowden might come to go play golf with him on a Sunday. You're the guy that might be a little bit better at the pregame meeting to get the team all ready.
He just spread out beat him in golf. I don't go.
What are some of the, he said you got that Saban thing, Nick Saban mentoring behind him, and the intensity. What are some of your differences with Coach Bowden?
I don't know. I mean, that's something you have to ask him. I mean, because you sit there and look at yourself, and sometimes you don't see the things that other people see. I think the biggest difference between Coach Bowden and I'm probably more hands-on. You know what I mean? But I think Coach Bowden was at a younger age. You know what I mean? You're talking about Coach Bowden at a different stage of his life. People forget he called plays all the way up to, 1993, 94. He was still the play caller and did all those things. So, Christians experienced him at an older age. But I'm probably more, like I say, he stands on the tower and can see everything, and he takes notes. And when you get done with practice, he goes over it. I'm down in the middle with the troops and see things and interact with the players a little more. Probably more hands-on in all the different off-season things we do as far as what I'm allowed to do, as far as, you're in the conditioning things and some of that stuff in February or whatever we're doing. But I don't know that. I mean, sometimes people say I'm like Coach Bowden, some people say I'm different. I mean, I'm just me. I don't try to look at it that way. And that's the two greatest things. People always talk about Coach Bowden and Nick. To me, the two things that they both do, two different styles can be successful. And the thing about both of them, they're their own person. You know what I mean? They don't try to be anybody. Nick tries to be Nick. Coach Bowden always tried to be you. Bobby tried to be Bobby. And so that's the greatest lesson I can learn from both of them, that Jimbo has to be Jimbo. And that's what I'll try to do. Oh, yes, he was. He was an icon. See, I grew up, I played for Terry Bowden. So the offense I grew up learning and playing in college was the old Florida State offense. We watched the old cutouts. I played with a bunch of, guys like Terry is in Alabama now. We had Orson Mobley, Allendale Campbell, Trace, guys that started and great players at Florida State in history. They played with me in college. You know what I mean? And we had Division I transfers, so we learned that offense. And so when I first started coaching, I would go down there and I stayed at his house. It took me to bowl games. When they were calling games, I'd sit up there with a headset and listen to him call a game. Couldn't speak, just listen to him how he called. When I first became an offensive coordinator at 23 years old, 24 years old, 23 or 24, I can't remember. But they helped mentor me as a coach, and a lot of my core values and beliefs came from him. And so he was a hero. I mean, he was a guy you looked up to, and one day, you're dreaming, I want to be where he's at. Luckily, I was, knock on wood, the dreams come true.
Coach, you had a pretty quiet, in terms of off-field incidents, you had a pretty quiet off-season up until yesterday. In the wake of the Nigel Carr thing, are you going to have to talk to, do you think this is going to be a wake-up call to the rest of the team? Or are you going to have to talk to the rest of the players and give them a reminder?
Well, I think any of those, the decisions you make you. Decisions you make in the off-season, we have to continue to educate. In his case, we have a school policy. If it's a felony, he'll be suspended. And then we'll let the judicial system run its course to find out what else we can do. But it is a reminder that You can be right 364 days a year. It only takes one. It only takes one instant in your life, and you got to make choices. And there's repercussions, good and bad. Now we'll wait and see how all the things pan out for Nigel. I'm not here to pass judgment. I don't know enough about the whole situation yet, and as they continue to develop that. But that's the rules of our university.
Suspension, unless it's dropped to a misdemeanor.
Exactly right, and then we'll deal with it within there. But if it's a felony, it's an automatic suspension, so we'll deal with it as it goes. But it is a great reminder. You have to make great decisions, and we're seeing it every day. And it's like telling young folks. I mean, they're kids. I mean, we think they're men, but they're not. They're young kids, and they're going to make bad choices at times, and we got to continue to hopefully not steer them in the right direction.
Jimbo, when you become a head coach, obviously you know these things are going to happen off the field. But when it happens, I guess this is the first major time it's happened to you. I mean, is it you get a sick feeling in your gut? What's it feel?
You know why I do? Because I say this so hard, this isn't a cliche. I look at every kid as if he's my own kid. If that was my kid, how would I feel? You know what I mean? Because he has a mama, he has a daddy, he has aunts, he has uncles, he has brothers, he has sisters. There's a lot of people who care about him. And you hate to see if everything is like that. The allegations of that can ruin a young man's life or derail him. And I always look at it as what if that was my child? That's the way I always approach it when I deal with them. If that was my child, how would I deal with it?
Coach, as far as the preseason, going into the preseason practice, what aspect of the game of your team do you feel needs the most concentration?
You mean as a team, just a total team concept, or an individual part of the team?
Individual.
And it's a key word I have, Armand, and what I talk about, attitude. If your attitude's right, everything in life is easy. Talent's what you're capable of. Attitude determines how well you do it. And if your attitude is right, whether you make a mistake, how you deal with that? Do you have the right attitude to fix it? If you have success, do you have the right attitude to keep doing it that way? Do you have the attitude to come to work every day? And that's the thing. We're so outcome-oriented in today's society, and we have expectations on us to be successful. We can't worry about that.
So there's no one aspect of the game is like the defensive line.
Well, that's what I was asking. To me, that's what I was asking individually. I'll get to that in a minute, but if the attitude's right, none of those things will ever come about. And being a team and understanding how to work every day and how to prepare to. We all want the glory. We don't want the sweat. You know what I'm saying? You got to have a lot of sweat to have glory, and that doesn't guarantee it. But you got to put yourself in position. We have to go back to understanding how to prepare, how to play, and how to get consistency in our performance. Because that's what sports is about. Being consistent every week. You want us to play the perfect game every week. Being consistent, but then how to deal with success and how to deal with adversity. But that consistency is going to be the key. And your attitude determines that, in my opinion.
Hypothetically, say an AD calls you up and says, Jimbo, I'm thinking about doing a coaching waiting situation. From your experience, can you tell me what's some advice you would give me?
Again, if you feel that's the guy that you think can lead your program, so I think it's a great thing. I think economic is a great deal. I think if you know where it goes, it helps you in recruiting and all those aspects. But I think your chain of command, you have to understand where that goes. Is the head coach going to continue to be the head coach? Okay. Is he going to be a guy who's continuing to runs it and that guy absorbs his own role? Or is he going to, if he's a guy who's content to delegate things, all right, who's number 2 in charge? I think it's very important for that guy to be number 2 because you could start moving toward the direction in which you want to move to and what you're doing. But people look at it as a negative, I don't. If it's lined up right, and that's the key. And then set a timetable. What's the timetable? Is both people okay with the timetable? What is it? Is it unlimited? Is it limited? But make sure that's discussed, understood before you go in, just like ours was. You know what I mean? I think that was one of the things. But it does give you a ton of advantages. And I think in transition time, you know what I mean? Just like when you take a new job, you got to figure out, evaluate the people around you. All right, what do I want to change? Who changes them? What part of the administration can I go to change? All right, if I need money, I want to build something here. Well, does the school have it? Does the boosters have it? Who does that? How the whole operation and organization works? And that timetable, you can move up. You can get it in position for your kids to make adjustments that much quicker.
Coach, you had